Well, when I found out I had to go to orientation, I had come in for the PhD after doing my master's somewhere else.
Well, it was the first time that I taught grown-ups. I used to teach preschool dance, which, surprisingly, a lot of the skills were applicable.
A brand new TA, had never really had any experience with teaching at all.
So coming from out of state into this large public university was a new experience for me.
Actually had 2 years of teaching experience as a TA, running labs and doing recitation style classes. So my first thought was like, I really don't need this.
So I wasn't going to be teaching my own section right away. So going into it was, the goal was a little nebulous.
Honest, when I found out I had to teach, I was not very happy, and I was actually really horrified.
I came in, I was extremely nervous.
And I know there are things I will improve on, but I really don't need to sit through 3 days of people telling me how to teach. So I was really just annoyed at the whole thing. I may have already kind of decided it was going to be useless to me.
For me, I felt like I would be a learning experience for me, no matter what.
Going in, I also had the similar attitude, oh, I have to complete one more orientation on top of 3 other things that I have to do.
It's like, I don't know who I'm teaching. At that point in time, I wasn't sure what I was teaching.
And I knew I would be helping with teaching in some way. I didn't know how or what.
Once we got into the breakout session, it was really more personal, and they were able to tailor what they were telling us to our needs.
I was actually surprised at how much thought goes into planning a classroom discussion. I just thought you think up a couple questions and, you riff.
The instructor that facilitated our session modeled some of the teaching techniques or strategies so that we not only were introduced to this is what the strategy is, but then we were able to see this is how you implement it.
A section on discussion in the orientation, we kind of got to create our own discussion, and seeing how that went and seeing that sometimes it was a rocky start but that it turned out being okay was really important for me to realize that, hey, I'm nervous about this for a reason. It might be hard, but it's not the end of the world.
Facilitators practice meta teaching, so they will do an icebreaker with everyone and then say, did you see what I just did? And so immediately you're being asked to reflect on every part of your teaching, not just how do I deliver the content, but how do I enter the room? How do I introduce myself to my students?
We were oriented to the entire system, and I think that was nice because, coming in, it's a huge university.
Because Ohio State is so big and so different from where I was teaching in my master's program, it really was helpful to orient me to this system. So even though I wasn't getting an introduction to teaching in general, I was really getting an orientation to how to teach at Ohio State. And that was so valuable going in on the first day.
One of the really important things that helped me were resources. So we were given booklets of all the resources, so writing center on campus and teaching center, and just we can come to UCAT if we have any issues, or library phone numbers, disability services. I think I have used a lot of them.
Everybody gets a little flash drive that has a ton of different files about how to design a rubric or where to go for more support, and I immediately used the resource list, how to get to UCAT, what their programs were being offered, where to go for tech support.
So even though others wouldn't be teaching what I was teaching, it really helped to reach out and meet others in the same situation.
And just to clue you into that network of other GAs who are doing the same things as you, because that really is the most valuable resource to me, is other people stumbling through the same process with you.
By the end of orientation, I was surprised to learn how many things were applicable regardless of if you were teaching an aerobics class or if you were teaching criticizing television, which is what I ended up teaching.
If I were to go back and do it again, I would try to figure out if other people, were feeling the same way as I was, and I would ask them more questions and just really interact with the other people at the orientation more, because I feel like not doing that, I didn't get as much out of it as I could have.
UCAT actually ended up being a pretty valuable tool throughout my time here at OSU, and so I wish I had found out all that they do earlier in my graduate career.
Just trying to stay alert during during everything, during the sessions, because it'll come back at some point, and you'll need that material.
I think I would have spent a little more time at the after events, stuff that wasn't required, like the fair and where you're seeing all these different departments.
I think I just would have tried to have a more open mind and I don't know what I missed, being stubborn and thinking that I didn't need to pay attention.
Probably the one thing I'd like to say is to be patient with the entire process.
I would say, ask around, ask other DAs, ask UCAT.
My micro advice would be to come into each session with at least one question that you want answered. Something concrete that you can get answered that you can immediately change your teaching with.
And I would suggest that you have an open mind and that you're willing to learn everything that will be thrown at you. There'll be a lot of material. You can't grasp it all. Don't feel overwhelmed. That's normal.
The smartest thing you can do as a grad student is to have friends outside of your department.
Columbus is a really great place, and it will really grow on you. Even if you hate it when you first move in, give it a chance. It's awesome.
At orientation, I want you to introduce yourself to someone who's not in your department that you might never see again, but that you're going through this experience with.
At orientation, I want you to ask questions and get connected to the teaching community at Ohio State.
At orientation, I want you to stay open and see the value in each teaching activity.
At orientation, I want you to know that you are going to be fine and that you can do this.